Tonight, there is nowhere to reach, nowhere to keep track of, nowhere to follow, and nothing here that asks anything more of you than to grow a little heavier where you are. Because this night has already settled before you arrived, and the village you are about to enter is not waiting to begin, not preparing to become anything, not holding itself in suspense for some important moment. It is already resting in its own quiet shape beneath the dark, with its mud brick walls cooled by the evening, its flat roofs lying still beneath the stars, its small lamps breathing softly behind latticed openings, and its narrow ways holding the last warmth of the day as gently as stone can hold it. So you do not need to look for a story, and you do not need to keep yourself alert for meaning, because this is only a slow drift through a place that has nearly gone to sleep, and you may let your breath lower with it. You may let your thoughts loosen and pass without keeping them. You may simply follow the hush of steps you do not have to count. And if anything still feels tight within you, let the night take it slowly, the way still water takes the reflection of a lamp and softens it until it hardly seems separate from the dark at all. You come to the village by the hour, when the sky has finished fading and become deep and even. And the first thing you notice is not movement, but settlement. The sense that every wall, every doorway, every low courtyard boundary has already accepted the dark and grown gentler inside it. The lane before you is narrow and pale beneath your feet, pressed flat by many quiet days, and along either side rise earthen homes whose surfaces are uneven in the most comforting way, holding the memory of hands that shaped them, and sun that dried them, and years that wore them smooth. Above, the roofs lie level and silent, with wooden beams resting across their edges like dark lines drawn against the stars. And from somewhere beyond the first bend comes the faintest fragrance of warm dust, of stored grain, of cooling clay, of smoke thinning into night. A lamp burns behind a carved screen to your left, and its glow does not spill far, only enough to make the pattern tremble gently on the ground near the threshold. It is a patient kind of light, not meant to announce anything, only to remain. And that is how the whole village seems to breathe around you now. Not brightly, not urgently, only steadily, as though every dwelling has folded in upon its own calm and left a little amber pulse near the center. You pass a closed wooden door bound with iron, then another set slightly open where a line of warmth rests across the sill, and though you do not look inside, you can feel the quiet order of the room beyond it. A woven mat, a low vessel, a shelf in shadow, the last tasks already finished, the air no longer disturbed. The lane bends, and the village opens just enough to reveal a small court where a single tree stands dark and still, its branches making soft shapes against the sky. Beneath it are two clay jars resting side by side, and near them a stone basin that catches a little of the lamplight from a nearby wall niche. The water inside it is almost black, holding not an image but a softness, as though even reflection has grown drowsy. Somewhere a latch settles, somewhere cloth stirs once and then stops, somewhere a night breeze passes through leaves too lightly to be called wind. And all of it belongs so completely to the hour that nothing feels separate from anything else. The tree, the jars, the basin, the cooling wall, the faint glow on the plaster, all of it gathered into one quiet condition. You continue without effort, because this is not the kind of place that asks you to decide where to go. Each turn seems already chosen by the calm itself. One lane narrows between high blank walls, another widens beside a low enclosure where herbs grow in dark clusters close to the earth, and another slopes so slightly that you only notice it by the way a line of moonlight touches the packed ground differently ahead. Above one doorway hangs a small lantern, whose flame shifts behind horn panels and makes the wood beneath it seem warmer than the night around it. Below, sandals have been left neatly side by side, as though the act of setting them there was done with the same quiet care as covering a sleeping child. At the center of the village, there is no square in the grand sense, only a shared openness where paths meet and separate again, where a shallow well stands ringed with worn stone, where a bench rests against a wall whitened by years of sun. Now it belongs entirely to night. The rope by the well hangs straight and still, the bucket rests in shadow, and the bench carries no one, only a little wash of moonlight along its edge. You stand there a moment, not because anything has happened, but because nothing needs to. The air is mild, the sky feels high and undemanding, and the silence is not empty, but layered, made of distant sleeping rooms, of embers settling in stoves, of woven curtains no longer moving, of animals bedded down behind low gates, of the earth itself releasing heat slowly into darkness. Then you move on again, beneath the low eaves and quiet roofs, and the village seems to draw you inward, not toward excitement, but toward deeper stillness, each house more restful than the last, each lane less concerned with direction than with shelter, each small flame more subdued, until even your thoughts begin to seem too bright for this place and start to dim at the edges. And that is welcome here, because ancient Persia, in this village hour, is not offering spectacle, only enclosure, only warmth kept close to walls, only the calm dignity of lives that have folded into the night so completely that you are allowed to do the same. The deeper you go, the more the village becomes a pattern of softened edges and quiet interiors. No building rises to dominate. No sound interrupts the still arrangement of things. And the beauty of the place comes less from any single sight than from the way everything belongs to everything around it. A low roof leading to another roof, a wall turning into a passage opening toward a courtyard giving way to a garden patch or stair or recessed doorway. All of it earth-colored by day, perhaps, but now translated into silver and shadow and warm amber points that seem to hover rather than shine. You pass a courtyard gate left open to the night, and within it you glimpse the ordered piece of household life already put away. A clay oven domed and cooling, a folded cloth draped over a low line, a broom leaning near the wall, a copper bowl turned upside down to dry. There is something deeply restful in seeing a place after its work is done, when tools no longer serve, when surfaces are no longer touched, when every object has returned to stillness and waits without strain for another day. Even the air in the courtyard feels arranged, carrying the faint perfume of baked bread, now almost gone, the sweetness of dates from a covered basket, the dry, clean scent of reed matting, the dust-soft fragrance of plaster and brick. Beyond that court, another lies half hidden behind a screen of carved wood, and there the lamp is lower, more golden, its light pooling on the ground beside a channel of water that runs narrow and clear between stones. The water makes almost no sound, only a tiny slipping murmur that seems less like movement than like sleep speaking quietly to itself. You watch it pass beneath the shadow of leaves and under a little bridge of flat stone, and the sight of it eases something in you at once, because the whole village seems built in sympathy with such water. Not to display it, not to dramatize it, but to welcome its cooling presence among walls and roots and shaded places. The lane climbs a little and brings you alongside a garden enclosed by mud brick walls no higher than the shoulder. Over the edge lean the darker forms of cypress and pomegranate, and in the corner nearest to you stands a basin catching a square of sky. The trees do not stir much, yet there is life in their stillness. The life of roots deep below and leaves at rest above, the life of fruit swelling unseen in darkness, the life of branches that have known many seasons and no longer need to hurry through any of them. From the soil rises that rich night scent of watered earth, cooled stone, and crushed mint, and it feels impossible to remain troubled while breathing it. At the next turn you find a covered passage supported by wooden posts, and here the darkness gathers more completely. The walls close in, the ceiling lowers, and the only light comes from a lantern hung far ahead, where the passage opens out again. As you walk toward it, your steps seem quieter than before, absorbed by the ground, softened by the enclosed air. And something in this narrowing hush seems designed not by architecture alone, but by habit and patience, by generations who understood the comfort of shade, the blessing of thicker walls, the peace of moving from warm courtyard to cool corridor to sheltered room without ever leaving the embrace of the home behind. When the passage opens, you emerge beside a terrace where several roofs step downward toward the edge of the village, and from here the night broadens. Beyond the final houses, the land stretches away in low shapes and dark fields, with a pale road threading toward distances you do not need to imagine tonight. The stars feel larger here, yet not harsher, and the moon, risen higher now, lays a faint silver over rooftops, jars, parapets, sleeping animals, and the flat woven coverings spread across some roofs to air by day and forgotten there by evening. Below, from one dwelling comes the smallest thread of music, perhaps a final note plucked once and allowed to fade, perhaps only the ear inventing tenderness where the night already contains it. Either way, it belongs. You descend again by a stair that turns between walls and arrive in a lane, so quiet it seems untouched even by memory. At one door hangs a bundle of drying herbs, at another a strip of woven cloth, at another nothing at all except the curved shadow of the lintel. And as you move through this stillness, you begin to feel that the village is not merely a place where people sleep, but a place shaped by sleep itself, by the need for coolness, by the need for shelter, by the wish to gather family inward behind walls that keep the day outside, by the instinct to soften light, to slow sound, to lead the body from labor into ease. Every surface seems to understand that task. Every corner seems built to release a little more of the world. And so you keep walking, not searching, not measuring, only letting the calm collect around you in layers. The narrowness of the lane, the fragrance of fig leaves in shadow, the warmth retained in brick at the level of your hand, the dark square of sky overhead, the occasional lamp cupped inside a niche as if protecting its own small pool of gold. All of it works gently upon you until the village no longer feels like something outside you. It begins to feel like an inward place, one through which your thoughts are passing and growing quieter as they go. At the far side of the village, where the homes become slightly more spaced and the walls lower enough to let the night move freely between them, you come upon a longer garden path lined with stone borders and water channels that divide and rejoin with patient simplicity. Here the hush deepens into something almost ceremonial, not in the grand sense of courts and empires, but in the intimate sense of a place carefully tended and then left to rest. The path is pale beneath the moon, and the narrow channels on either side carry water so clear and dark that it appears at moments to be made of the sky itself. When it passes beneath a bridge or under overhanging leaves, it disappears into blackness and returns a few steps later with the same gentle composure. Cypress trees stand at intervals, tall and unmoving, their dark shapes like quiet thoughts held upright against the stars. Between them are beds of herbs and flowers whose colors are hidden now, leaving only their fragrance to drift upward. Rose, basil, damp earth, something citrus and faint, something sweet and nearly gone. The scents mingle in the cool air and seem to settle directly into the body, bypassing thought altogether. And perhaps that is why this part of the village feels so especially restful, because here the world does not announce itself to the mind first, but to the breath, to the skin, to the slower senses that do not argue, do not compare, do not hurry to name. At the center of the garden stands a pavilion open on all sides, its roof supported by slender columns, its floor raised a little above the ground. No one is there now, only cushions laid neatly along the edges, a folded textile in the corner, a low brass tray catching a dim crescent of moonlight. You step up into it and feel at once the relief of elevation, of being held between earth and sky without needing to belong more to one than the other. From here, you can look back toward the village roofs and see them layered softly in the dark, one below another, broken now and then by a lamp, a parapet, the curve of a tree, the line of a stair. Nothing sharp, nothing insistent, only forms resting where they have long rested. You sit for a while in the pavilion and listen to the water passing below. It is such a small sound, and yet it fills the silence without disturbing it. A soft, continuous thread, the kind that allows the mind to unclench because it asks for nothing in return. Around it are the faint supporting sounds of the night, a leaf touching another leaf, a far gate shifting once, the almost silent movement of air across the open floor, and beyond all of that, the great still background of darkness itself, vast and mild and entirely unconcerned with time. Under such a sky, the need to keep track of anything begins to feel unnecessary, Even the need to remain fully awake loosens. When you rise and continue, the path leads you past a wall pierced with small geometric openings, and through them you glimpse an inner room where a lamp burns low beside rolled bedding and a shelf of vessels. The room appears not abandoned, but paused, held in that perfect interval between the final waking task and the first dream. There is tenderness in such a sight, in the way a room can remain warm after voices have ceased, in the way blankets and bowls and sandals preserve the shape of ordinary life, even when no one moves among them. This whole village, you realize, is full of these pauses, these gentle suspensions in which nothing has vanished, only quieted. You follow the outer wall of the garden until it meets a small terrace overlooking dark fields crossed by irrigation lines that catch the moon in broken threads. Beyond them rise low hills, almost black against the horizon, and above them the stars spread cleanly, with none of the harshness that city light would bring centuries later. The land feels deep and patient here, not empty, only sleeping at a larger scale, and the village behind you seems like a gathered warmth set carefully inside that greater stillness, a cluster of earth and shelter held between field and sky, water and dust, human tenderness and the wide indifference of the night. And somehow the balance is perfect. No struggle between them, only belonging. Below the terrace, a narrow path returns toward the houses by way of a stable wall and a stand of palms. The animals beyond the wall are quiet, settled into their own warmth, and from the palms comes the faint dry rustle of fronds touching in the lightest breeze. The sound is so soft it seems almost remembered rather than heard. You let it pass through you without holding it, then continue through a little arch into another lane where the walls are painted with moonlight on one side and dissolved into shadow on the other. A lamp high above has nearly burned down, and its glow is dimmer now, deeper in color, more ember than flame. It makes the plaster beneath it look the shade of honey. Everywhere the village offers you the same lesson without ever speaking it, that rest is not emptiness, that quiet is not absence, that to withdraw from noise is not to lose life, but to feel it more gently. The homes withdrawn behind thick walls, the gardens cooled by channels, the roofs laid open to the night air, the lamps kept low, the lanes curved and sheltered, all seem to know this already, and because they know it, you do not need to figure it out for yourself. You need only remain here a little longer, moving slowly enough that your own thoughts begin to take on the shape of these walls, wide at the base, softened at the corners, warm within, dimly lit, and entirely at peace. Now the village feels familiar, in the way a dream becomes familiar, while you are still inside it. You no longer notice where one lane ends and another begins, or whether a courtyard belongs to this house or that one, because the distinctions have softened. Everything has become part of one larger atmosphere of shelter and dimness and sleep. You pass again beneath the level roofs and past the closed doors and the small niches of light, but now they seem less like details and more like breaths in one great quiet body. The village is resting around its hidden centers, around sleeping families, banked embers, folded cloths, cooling ovens, jars in shadow, bowls beside basins, sandals beside beds. And you are resting with it, carried not by effort, but by repetition, by the deep comfort of seeing calm answer calm again and again. At a little square near the well, you stop once more. The rope still hangs motionless, the bench still carries only moonlight, the stone rim of the well is colder now than before. Somewhere above, on a roof you cannot see, a curtain stirs and settles. Then nothing. The pause that follows is so complete it feels almost visible. And in that pause, the whole night seems to gather itself, not into silence exactly, but into a softness beyond sound. The kind that makes the chest loosen, the jaw unclench, the eyes feel heavier than they did a few moments earlier. The kind that does not arrive by command, only by staying quietly in the presence of things that have already let go. You leave the square and take the lane that gently leads outward, though even now it does not feel like leaving, only like moving through the final circles of calm. There is the courtyard tree again, darker now against the sky. There are the clay jars beside the basin. There is the narrow line of water receiving the lamp's faint gold and carrying it away in broken shapes. There is the covered passage, the garden wall, the terrace edge, the carved screen, each place softer than before, as though the night has been steadily covering everything in a finer and finer layer of rest. And perhaps it has been doing the same to you. The stars above the village remain clear but distant, no longer inviting thought, only surrender. The fields beyond are absorbed in darkness, the road away has disappeared into shadow, and the homes behind you hold their little warmths without displaying them. Each lamp lower now, each room quieter, each sleeping space deeper inside itself. You imagine the cool of plaster near a bed, the weight of woven blankets, the stillness of a room where the final ember has almost gone dark, the comfort of thick walls keeping the world outside, the sense of being gathered inward and asked for nothing. And the more gently you imagine it, the more your own body seems willing to follow. At the edge of the village, you pause for the last time and turn back. Not to study, only to receive the whole scene once more as one quiet impression. The clustered roofs, the dark trees among them, the few surviving amber lights, the pale lanes threading between walls, the moon resting lightly on parapets and courtyards and channels of water. Beyond, the hills sleeping in their own vast silence, above, the untroubled sky. And there is something so complete in it that no ending is needed. No conclusion, no final thought to carry away, only the permission to let the image remain as it is while you drift from it. So let ancient Persia grow softer now. Let the village recede without vanishing. Let the walls blur into night, the lamps sink lower, the water continue its quiet path beneath leaves and stone. Let the courtyards empty into stillness, and the roofs lie calm beneath the stars. Let every closed door remain closed, every resting room remain undisturbed, every garden keep its fragrance folded inside the dark. And as the village settles farther and farther into the distance, let your own mind follow it gently downward, away from effort, away from counting, away from the bright edges of thought, until there is only this soft passing through warm darkness, this feeling of being sheltered without needing to know by what, this slow release into a night that has already accepted everything and asks only that you rest with it now.